It's Platt, and today we try a beer based off a classic holiday dessert. That's next on Platt's Beer of the Week. So the particular beer we have today is the Pecan Ale. Comes to us from the fine folks at Abita Brewing. If you grew up in the South, you know, pecans were huge, or depending where in the South, they are also known as pecans, but we're going to use pecans for this. But pecan pies were such, one of the favorite dishes around the holidays. My grandfather used to have a big pecan tree, and we'd pick them out, up throughout the year, say for grandmother's pecan pies during the holidays. So this one has, a little place in my heart for me. A little background on Abita Brewing, located in Covington, Louisiana, about 43 miles north of New Orleans. It was founded by Jim Patton and Rush Cummings back in 1986 in Abita Springs, Louisiana at the time. The original location today is known as Abita Brew Pub, but it's a separate company. It's not part of Abita Brewing. But it still used as a brewery today, which is kind of cool. They produced roughly 1,500 barrels or 3,000 kegs that first year and started to grow from there. Finally, in 1994, they had to move to their current location. They had to upgrade, and they did that with a 100-barrel brew system. Since then, they've added a 200-barrel brew system to add additional capacity. Today, they produce roughly 125,000 barrels of beer and 13,500 barrels of soda. That's right, they produce their own sodas. Mainly, it's their root beer. Abita root beer, is considered one of the better root beers out there. A lot of breweries are starting to do this. The brewery I worked for here in Vegas made a pretty good little root beer. I think it's just a great addition to the product line. Now, what makes Abita's root beer special is they don't use corn sugar or corn syrup or whatever. They use real Louisiana sugar cane, a great local resource, kind of a cool story. Also, they make something called king cake soda. Apparently, that is a New Orleans dish, popular New Orleans dish. And they release it every year during Mardi Gras, which is kind of cool. Speaking of cool, in 2015, they became the first craft brewer to export their beer to Aruba. Now, I'd love to know how that business deal got done. Who in Aruba thought, well, this is the first craft beer we got to bring to this island nation. I'm sure they love the business trips down there, of course. Today, the beer is distributed throughout the U.S. and Puerto Rico. And another cool thing about the company is it's still owned by the original stockholders. They haven't sold out. It's still a private company. The hedge funds hadn't come in. Big beer hadn't come in. Really kind of cool story. Let's talk about some of their beers. A decent line of beers, but they don't, you kind of see they don't get outside of their lanes. They're not doing, big West Coast double IPAs or anything like that. They make what they make. First is one of actually two flagship beers, which is kind of unique. You just don't see that in the brewing world. Generally, one beer either wins more awards or just is the #1 selling beer, but these two are pretty much neck to neck. The first one is Turbo Dog, 5.6% ABV. This is a dark brown ale. And the other one, and probably the first one of their beers I'd ever heard of. Next is Purple Haze, 4.2% ABV. This is a lager made with real raspberries, so it's kind of the purplish hue, Purple Haze. Again, you could claim either one of these are the flagship beer of the company, which means you have two flagship beers. They're 1A and 1B. Lastly, a beer that I definitely want to keep my eye out for, PB and Jams, 8% ABV. This is a peanut butter and strawberry flavored lager, which I find interesting. I figured it'd be more of an ale, but I definitely want to keep my eye out for that. And again, a decent line of beers, and they do kind of more experimental kind of stuff. Pecan Ale being a perfect example. Well, before we try this particular beer, though, let's check out the stats. So, time now for questions for Platt. If you have a question that you want me to answer in a video, please send it to plattsboozblog@gmail.com, and in the subject line, put questions for Platt. Now, today's question was just an anonymous comment I recently got in the comment section here in the videos. However, I've had it asked several times, so I thought this would be a good spot to answer it. And basically the question is, can I use nutritional yeast to brew? And the short answer is no. Now, for those of you that don't know what nutritional yeast is, it's beer yeast. However, they pasteurize it or kill the yeast cells. So the yeast cells are dead, they're inactive, they have no use in the brewing sense. Now, what are they used for? You know, why is it called nutritional yeast? Apparently, and ironically, this is a source of protein. Like, people will sprinkle on the yeast on their food, and it is a source of protein in vegan and vegetarian diets, which I find ironic because they literally have to kill the yeast cells to... Anyway, but it's supposedly a source of protein and also high in vitamin B12. But the quick answer is you cannot use it for brewing. If you're having trouble with yeast, bread yeast always works. It doesn't make the best product, but if you're just wanting to make something, you can use bread yeast. Well, enough about that. Let's try a pecan ale. All right. Darker, but not real dark. It's probably almost like a brown ale looking color. Light khaki head, about a finger's width. Oh, you get a little hint of the pecan on the nose, but more malt is really coming out on the nose. Let's dive in. That's nice. I'm not getting a lot of pecan. This is just a good drinking kind of darker ale. You get, because it's a little darker, you get a little of those deeper, darker malt notes. You're starting to get into the toffees and stuff like that. Now, like I said, pecans are huge in the South because pecan pie, stuff like that. This is not necessarily a pecan pie ale. That's just a pecan ale. I went trying to see who made with real Louisiana pecans, but yeah, like I said, I'm not picking a lot of pecan, but just a nice, really drinkable, darker ale, in the brown ale vein. Yeah, Munich malt, caramel malt, and biscuit malt. Yeah, definitely picking that up. I'm just not getting the pecan on it, but a good beer overall. Yeah, like I said, it's a good beer, but I was wanting something. I guess that's I was wanting something more. Yeah, I guess I was kind of hoping for at least more nut flavor, and I'm not getting this out of this beer. If they would have just sold this as a brown ale or amber ale, whatever, however they want to call it, I would still drink it. I would still recommend you trying this beer. It's just not. If you're expecting pecan bomb, you're not getting that. Well, I hope you liked this video. If you did, please subscribe down below. Also, please like the video because it lets YouTube know we're putting out good content. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or beers that you'd like me to try, please leave them in the comment section, or you can always contact me on the Twitter page. Well, until next time, bottoms up.